Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone, especially to my lecturer, Madam Nur My name is Nur Sakinah binti Roslai and I'm from KBA 1183E. As you guys can see in the title, I am going to talk about hoarder behavior. So my topic for today is hoarder. Are you proud to be one? Without further ado, let's get started. Have you ever heard this type of behavior before? Or are you secretly developed with this behavior in your daily life without noticing it? So let us find out about this behavior and its consequences. First of all, what is hoarding disorder? Based on an article found in the American Psychiatric Association, hoarder behavior exists due to a perceived desire to keep items. People with hoarding disorder have a hard time getting rid of separating with their possession. Attempting to throw away their possession caused distress in their mind, and they ended up to keep them instead of forgo it. The resulting clutter makes it difficult to use living areas. According to this same study reviewed by Caroline Rodriguez MD PhD and Randy O. Frost PhD, hoarding disorder affect about 2.6% with higher rates among persons aged over 60 and those with additional psychiatric illnesses including anxiety and sadness. Hoarding's prevalence and characteristics appear to be consistent across countries and cultures. Most of the research said that hoarding affects both men and women equally. Hoarding behavior begins early in life and becomes more severe with each passing decades. Moreover, to differentiate between hoarders and collectors, keep in mind that they are not the same thing. Collectors usually acquire items in a systematic and purposeful, integrated manner. The items are taken out of normal use once they have been acquired. Otherwise, for hoarders, it's the other way around from collectors' behavior. Before I dive further, I am sure you guys must be wondering what will happen if we develop this behavior, right? There are lots of negative effects that we might face. For the first one is damage to relationship. If you or your loved ones suffer from hoarding disorder, you may be frustrated by your inability to encourage the hoarder to change their way, upset by how they feel, and stressed by all the resulting conflict in your relationship. You might even get the assumption that the hoarder is more concerned with their belongings than you. Indeed, developing this behavior will lead to family strain and conflicts. Secondly, is loneliness and social isolation. You might be feeling embarrassed, frustrated, or hopeless, especially for family members of hoarders. To be precise, children who live in hoarders' house may feel even more shame, as they always feel powerless over their hoarding family's member lives. However, because of their embarrassment, they are likely to isolate themselves from their friends and refuse to invite them over. And then, for the third effect is unsanitary environment that put people's health in danger. The health risks posed by unsanitary living conditions or the risk of fire and injuries likely to be happen because of their home's clutter. Other than that, things might get even more worse if you have to share a living space with the hoarder. You may become irritated, which can ruin your mood as the mess keep on increases. As you guys can see in this picture right here, 80% of people's mood is affected by clutter. Furthermore, this graph shows about percentage of survey to examine hoarders. Here we get to see that most of the hoarders are among secret hoarders, which they are not aware that they are actually developed with this behavior in the first place. After that, followed by self-confessed hoarders, which they acknowledge themselves to be included as hoarders. Basically, from what we can infer here, almost 65% of people claims they have belongings that hard to get rid from. Well, for this graph is about hoarding prevalence by age. From Psychiatric Times article shows that between the age of 6 and 8 hoarding behavior are said to decrease in frequency in normally developing children. The graph also shows adult increase with age from 1% to 2% at age 20, then over 7% for people at age 70 and above. Based on this graph, those between the age of 35 and 65 have the highest rate of increase to develop hoarding disorder. As a result, we can tell that age is not an exception for us to be a hoarder, only if we have the desire to change to avoid this behavior.
Individuals who are struggling with hoarding disorder are caught up in the stuff, if you will. we start to find that there's what's called goat paths, where people are trying to maneuver their way through hallways and into various rooms. Hoarding disorder is an anxiety disorder, and it's marked by individuals who struggle with excessive acquisition of stuff. So their house begins to become filled to a point where there's areas in the home that cannot be accessible. The house gets so overrun that people start putting things wherever they can. They can't sleep in their bed, oftentimes they can't sit on the couch, they can't socialize, and they become very embarrassed and very ashamed and very isolated because of this. So many people that are suffering in silence, they're scared to come forward, they're terrified of what will happen if people see their homes.
Dear my audiences, just so you know that I am credible enough to talk about this topic because I did some research, watched several news. Other than that, I also read a lots of articles regarding hoarders behavior from authentic sources that has been conducted by many experts who are in actual fields in this profession, and they also trusted to discuss about hoarder behavior. Okay, now let's move on with my first main point, followed by my second and third main point. Firstly, hoarder behavior is the problem. Hoarding frequently results in such claustrophobic or overcrowded areas that homes may be overfilled with only narrow pathway winding through stacks of clutter. Countertop, sink, stove, dust, stairways, and almost every other surface is usually piled high with stuff. When there isn't any more space inside, the clutter may spread to the garage, vehicle, yard, and other storage areas. Based on this graph, people who hoard are more likely to experience symptoms of other additional disorder. For example, hoarder may develop depression, general anxiety from genetic, social anxiety, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and substance abuse. However, the most dominant additional disorder that hoarder may develop is depression. I already explained for the first main point. Next up, I will be explaining for the second main point, which is cause of hoarding comes from hereditary. According to studies, up to 85% of people with compulsive hoarding have at least one other family member who has the same problem. Hoarders may also have grown up in cluttered homes and find comfort in the clutter. Sometimes we often heard from our family members, especially our parents, tell us to keep that items from throw it away. Then they try to convince us to not throw the item away by saying typical reason. Probably we might need the item in other circumstances that we do not know. Therefore, if we get influenced by them, the tendency of us to be a hoarder is high because this hereditary perception that we follow. As I have already covered for the second main point earlier, now let's move on with the last main point, which is we must stop normalizing this type of behavior as our solution. In order to break this hoarder behavior chain from ourselves is seeking professional help, can also help detect the disorder in its early stages, create a safer environment for those suffering from hoarding, and ultimately help put your loved ones on the road to wellness. Next, to avoid this behavior, we must change our old perception that thinks hoarder behavior is something that is silly and small matter. This is because to protect our mind to get influenced to develop hoarding. All in all, for those who are suffering from hoarding disorder, there are nothing wrong with being different no matter what illnesses you face. Just accept the way you are, and most importantly is self-love, which allow you to believe in yourself to keep on growing, and at least if you have a little initiative to change to be a better person. Perhaps with this strong faith that you hold, one day you will finally free from being a hoarder after so long struggling with it. In conclusion, to own a healthy mental health is a must. Same go with physical health. To all hoarders out there, do not dissociate yourself from anyone because of your weaknesses. Give yourself another opportunity to change slowly to get rid from this behavior. As the quote goes, big journey begin with small steps. Hence, do not assume that developing hoarding disorder is normal because it burdens not only you but everyone around you and your surroundings. Better do something to cure it and seek help from expertise before it is too late and might contribute bad impact to you in the future. That is all from me. Thank you.